The Galactic Empire stood at the edge of the known universe, its vast expanse of star systems and colonies stretching far beyond what anyone could fathom. But even in all its greatness, there were still mysteries that beckoned from the deepest corners of space. Commander Lyra Thorne had seen much in her years of service, but nothing had ever captured her attention like the signal that had suddenly appeared out of nowhere, a faint pulse that seemed to come from a dead planet, one long thought to have been destroyed centuries ago. Earth, the cradle of humanity, the birthplace of the species that had once reached the stars only to fade away in the flames of a cataclysm no one fully understood. When the signal was first detected, it was dismissed as an anomaly, nothing more than a stray piece of static in the vastness of space. But as time passed, the signal's patterns grew more distinct. It repeated at regular intervals, its frequency growing stronger and more structured. Lyra was one of the first to take notice, a sharp mind, always on the lookout for anything out of place. She had a hunch that this signal was something far more important than anyone realized. After all, Earth was supposed to be a myth, a lost memory buried in the annals of galactic history, not a place that could still be sending signals into the void. The Empire's high command had been slow to act, but Lyra was persistent. She pushed for an investigation of the signal despite the skepticism of her superiors, and after weeks of deliberation, the order was given to investigate the origins of the transmission. With a small crew of explorers, she set off aboard the Empire's flagship, the Elysian Star, its engines humming with the promise of new discoveries. As they journeyed toward the coordinates embedded in the signal, the further they traveled, the more the crew began to feel the weight of history pressing down upon them. They were heading to a planet that had been erased from memory, a place thought of old, no future. Yet here they were chasing after something unseen, something unknown. As they entered Earth's orbit, the crew could not believe their eyes. The planet was far from the dead husk they had imagined. Instead, it was a place of haunting beauty. Its blue oceans and vast continents lay bare beneath a thick layer of clouds that clung like a protective shroud. Lyra stood at the helm, staring down at the planet below, a feeling of awe mixed with unease swirling within her. It felt wrong to be here, like intruders trespassing on sacred ground, yet she could not deny the draw of the signal beckoning them closer. The Elysian Star began its descent into Earth's atmosphere, cutting through the clouds as the ship's systems worked overtime to stabilize the craft's path. The ground below was a patchwork of ruins, crumbled buildings, and forests, reclaiming the land as nature had slowly overtaken what was once civilization. The remains of cities scattered across the planet's surface were a haunting testament to humanity's past. These were the places where human history had been written and erased, where dreams had been built and shattered. But there was something else, something Lyra's crew couldn't quite place. The air was still, as if holding its breath. The planet seemed to be waiting for something to happen, as though time itself had paused to observe their arrival. The signal pulsed again, faint but distinct, a message from the past that had survived the ravages of time. It was a sign of life, of something that should have been lost forever, and for the first time in a long while, Lyra felt a flicker of hope that perhaps humanity's story wasn't finished after all. As the Elysian Star touched down on Earth's surface, the crew disembarked with a mixture of excitement and unease. The air was thick with the scent of moss and old earth, the kind of smell that hinted at a world slowly being overtaken by nature. There were no signs of life. Not the bustling cities or crowded streets of ancient Earth, only the silent ruins of what had once been one of the most vibrant civilizations in the galaxy. Lyra's boots crunched softly on the cracked pavement as she led the team through the broken streets of a city that had long since been abandoned. The buildings around them were skeletal remnants of a past age, broken windows and crumbling facades, standing like silent sentinels watching over the forgotten world. Yet the signal had led them here, to this very place, and they could feel it calling them deeper into the heart of the ruins. It was as though the planet itself had a secret to tell, a secret buried beneath layers of time and decay. The team worked in silence, moving through the rubble with practiced precision, their scanners picking up faint readings from beneath the surface. They found a series of narrow tunnels that led down into the earth. The passageways were dimly lit by the glow of their equipment, and the air was heavy with dust, as though no one had walked these halls in centuries. At the end of the passage they came upon a massive underground structure. Its entrance was hidden behind a wall of debris and overgrowth, but there was no mistaking the craftsmanship of the ancient door, a huge metal panel adorned with intricate symbols and strange markings lay before them. It was unlike anything Lyra had seen before, but she could feel its significance. It was something important, something humanity had left behind, and she knew that the answers they were looking for lay inside. Lyra motioned for the team to begin clearing the entrance. They worked quickly, removing the debris, and soon enough the door was open, revealing a vast underground chamber. The walls were lined with advanced technology far beyond anything the Galactic Empire had ever seen. There were large metallic structures that hummed with power and machines that seemed to pulse with an energy of their own. But what truly caught Lyra's attention was the central console. The console was covered in dust, but the screens flickered to life as the team approached. Slowly the machine seemed to wake, as if responding to their presence. Lyra's heart raced as she watched the display shift through various screens and files, and then it stopped on one. It was a video feed, an old recording from a time long past. The face of a man appeared on the screen, his expression grim but resolute. Asterisk, to those who find this message, asterisk. The man's voice echoed through the chamber, though the sound was faint and distorted. Asterisk. This is humanity's last hope. The Earth is lost, and we have done what we could to survive. But there are others out there who might still be alive. Asterisk. The message cut off abruptly, leaving Lyra with more questions than answers. She stood frozen for a moment, trying to process the gravity of what she had just seen. The survivors of Earth had hidden themselves away, but they had left a message for those who might one day find it. Asterisk. There's more. Asterisk. Lyra murmured to herself as she turned to her team. She knew that this was only the beginning of a journey that would uncover more than they could have ever imagined, and perhaps even change the fate of the galaxy forever. The hidden legacy of humanity was not just a thing of the past. It was something that had the power to shape the future, but it was also something that would require them to confront truths they weren't ready to face. With renewed determination, Lyra took a deep breath and gestured for her team to begin examining the rest of the chamber. The vault held more secrets than they could yet comprehend, and she was ready to uncover them all, no matter where the path might lead. The chamber was alive with the soft hum of machines and the low buzz of equipment as Lyra and her team examined the strange technology that filled the underground vault. The room seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting for the final piece of the puzzle to fall into place. Lyra couldn't shake the weight of the message they had found. The cryptic warning from the man who had spoken of humanity's last hope. The implications were overwhelming, yet she felt an undeniable pull to uncover the truth of what had happened to the people of Earth. The consoles in front of her flickered to life again, displaying a series of blueprints and maps that detailed unknown technologies and far-flung coordinates. Lyra studied them with increasing fascination. The Empire's archives contained records of Earth's fall, the cataclysmic event that wiped out most of the human population. But these were nothing like what she was seeing now. This was something different. The Earth that had been lost was not just a destroyed planet. It was a society that had faced extinction and yet had found a way to survive beyond the reaches of their dying home. Her team worked tirelessly to decipher the images and data. The designs on the consoles revealed far more than just survival tactics. There were records of space-faring vessels, advanced beyond anything the Empire had created. Ships that could travel between galaxies with the power to bend space itself. There were blueprints for cryogenic stasis pods that could preserve life for centuries, and even indications that Earth's last survivors had developed a means of altering their genetic code to survive in the harshest environments. As Lyra flipped through the files, one particular entry caught her attention. It was a map of the galaxy with several marked locations, each one corresponding to a distant star system. She recognized some of the names, places that were familiar to the Empire. But there were others marked with symbols she had never seen before. She felt a surge of excitement and fear in equal measure. The survivors had left Earth behind and scattered across the stars. "There's more," Lyra said softly, as her fingers hovered over a series of encrypted messages that had been hidden deep within the vault's system. These coordinates, they're not just random points in space. They're destinations, places where humans could have gone to rebuild. One of her officers, Lieutenant Rhea, nodded, her face etched with curiosity. It looks like a plan. A map to humanity's future beyond Earth. And these messages, they're a call for help. Lyra's heart skipped a beat as she read the next part of the message. The footage from the first recording resumed, this time showing a woman who spoke with urgency. If anyone finds this, the survivors of Earth have dispersed into different systems. We are scattered but not lost. We have found refuge among the stars, and some have even made contact with other species. But there are dangers that still threaten us, ancient forces that seek to undo everything we fought for. The video cut off abruptly, leaving behind a chilling sense of urgency, a feeling that the fight for humanity's survival was far from over. Lyra's mind raced with possibilities and questions. The survivors hadn't just escaped Earth. They had built something new. They had reached out to others, formed alliances, and fought off dangers that no one had ever expected to exist. It was a history far richer and more complex than anything she had ever been taught. The significance of this discovery was overwhelming. Humanity hadn't just vanished. They had found a way to survive and thrive in the galaxy. They had a legacy that could change the very fabric of the Empire's power structure. But the more Lyra uncovered, the more questions arose. Could these survivors still be out there somewhere? Could they be the key to unraveling the mysteries of the galaxy and the greater threat that lurked beyond the stars? With determination in her eyes, Lyra turned to her crew. We need to follow these coordinates. We're not just here to uncover the past. We're here to find the future of humanity. As they packed up their findings and prepared to leave the vault, Lyra knew one thing for certain. The galaxy was about to change forever, and they were at the center of it all. With the vault's secrets now partially unlocked, Lyra stood at the helm of the Elysian Star once again, staring out into the vast expanse of space. The coordinates left behind by the Earth survivors had formed a map of potential refuges scattered across the galaxy. Each destination seemed to lead further into the unknown, but it was clear now that humanity's story didn't end on a destroyed Earth. It had continued in silence, and the galaxy held the pieces they needed to complete the puzzle. "Ready when you are, Commander." Lieutenant Rhea's voice interrupted Lyra's thoughts. The officer's words were tinged with a sense of anticipation, mirroring the tension in the air. The crew had been on edge since they found the vault. They were no longer just explorers. They were now part of something larger, a story that was waiting to be discovered. Lyra took a deep breath and nodded. "Set course for the first location," she ordered, her voice steady but filled with determination. We had a long journey ahead. The ship's engines hummed to life as the Elysian Star slowly pulled away from Earth's orbit. The crew was silent, each member absorbed in their own thoughts, and Lyra felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. They weren't just chasing history anymore. They were hunting for a lost future. Days turned into weeks as they followed the trail of coordinates. The first few destinations were planets that had once been explored by early galactic expeditions, places long thought to be devoid of life or interest. But as they arrived at each location, something unexpected awaited them. On the barren planet of Trionus 9, they found evidence of ancient human settlements, long abandoned but preserved in strange, shifting sands. On the icy world of Nivara, remnants of human-made structures stood beneath layers of frozen snow. These were not thriving colonies, but they were proof that humanity had reached out, planting seeds in distant corners of the galaxy. The strangest discovery, however, came on the third planet they visited, a lush, forested world named Zethar 3. From orbit, it appeared like any other uninhabited planet, but when they landed, the crew encountered signs of life, human life. The settlers had left no official records, but strange, almost mystical symbols were carved into the bark of ancient trees and hidden deep within the jungle. The team found a small group of humans living in harmony with the land. "They've adapted. Lyra whispered, almost in awe. The humans on Zethar 3 had created a sustainable community, learning to thrive without the advanced technology they had once known. They had forsaken their old ways to live in balance with their environment, completely cut off from the Empire and the galaxy beyond. Yet their presence here was undeniable, and Lyra knew that their existence could hold the answers to why the survivors had scattered, and whether they had intentionally kept themselves hidden from the galaxy at large. In the midst of exploring the settlement, Lyra was approached by the leader of the group, a woman named Elara, whose face bore the same determination Lyra had seen in the recordings from Earth. Elara spoke carefully, wary of outsiders, but her eyes betrayed a long-held sense of sorrow. "Why have you come here?" Elara asked, her voice calm but filled with guarded suspicion. "What do you seek in the ruins of a lost civilization?" Lyra hesitated before responding, aware that the wrong words could jeopardize everything. "We've come looking for answers," she said. "The message we found, it spoke of survivors, of humanity's journey beyond Earth. We believe there are more of you, more of us, out there." Elara's gaze softened, and for a moment, Lyra thought she saw a flicker of hope in the woman's eyes. "There are many of us, scattered throughout the galaxy, but not all of us wish to be found," Elara replied, her voice heavy with regret. "We made our choices long ago, choosing to live without the Empire's reach, without the galaxy's demands. Some of us have found peace, while others—" She paused, her expression darkening. "Others live with the burden of humanity's past mistakes, and they'll do anything to ensure it stays buried." Lyra felt a chill run down her spine. The mysteries surrounding the survivors were deepening with every planet they visited, and it seemed like not all of them were willing to welcome the return of the Empire. There were others out there, hidden in the shadows, who may not want the galaxy to know the truth of humanity's survival. As she stood there, watching the peaceful community of Zethar 3, Lyra realized the journey ahead would be far more complicated than she had ever imagined. The survivors were not a singular group. They were fractured, each holding their own piece of Earth's legacy, some willing to share, and others determined to keep their secrets locked away forever. The search had only just begun, and Lyra was more determined than ever to uncover the truth, no matter where it led. The Elysian star departed from Zethar 3, leaving behind a planet that had remained untouched by the larger conflicts of the galaxy for centuries. The encounter with Elara and her people had left Lyra with a complex mix of emotions, hope and apprehension, wonder and suspicion. The survivors on Zethar 3 had rejected the Empire's reach, but they also embodied the spirit of humanity's enduring resilience. Lyra couldn't help but wonder how many more colonies like this existed, hidden, peaceful, and untapped by the galaxy's larger powers. With renewed determination, the crew continued their journey to the next set of coordinates, a cluster of stars marked with a symbol they had not yet deciphered. The further they traveled, the less they knew about what awaited them. The galaxy was vast, and each turn they made seemed to lead into deeper mysteries. They knew they had to proceed carefully. This was no longer just a search for survivors. It was a hunt for pieces of a fragmented past that might hold the keys to humanity's future. The next location was a barren moon orbiting a gas giant, seemingly lifeless. As the ship descended, Lyra studied the readings on the console, which indicated the presence of an underground structure. The surface of the moon was desolate, cracked, dusty plains with only sparse hints of mineral activity. But the scan showed something different beneath the surface. An anomaly. Something large, something deliberate. As they made their landing, the crew noticed strange patterns etched into the surface, circles and lines that seemed too symmetrical to be natural. It didn't take long for them to discover the entrance, hidden beneath a crumbling cliff face. It was a doorway, large and imposing, but covered in thick layers of dust and rock, as if it had been sealed off for centuries. Despite the passage of time, the entrance seemed somehow intact, its edges sharp and purposeful. "We found it," Lyra muttered under her breath as they approached, her heart racing. This wasn't just another ruined settlement or abandoned city. It was something more. With careful precision, the team cleared the entrance, and the massive stone doors slowly groaned open, revealing the interior of what appeared to be an enormous subterranean complex. The walls were lined with complex machinery, ancient technology, still functional, but of a type unknown to the Empire. There were no signs of life, but the place was far from abandoned. The air was stale, but the hum of active systems filled the silence. This was a place that had been maintained, preserved for a specific purpose. As they ventured deeper into the complex, the team discovered a series of chambers, each filled with strange artifacts and equipment, some of which appeared to be of human origin, while others were utterly alien. Lyra's curiosity deepened, and as they uncovered more, it became clear that this colony was something entirely different from Zethar 3. It was advanced, hidden from the galaxy's eye for a reason. The technology within these walls hinted at a deep knowledge of space travel, far surpassing what the Empire had achieved. "This isn't just a colony," Lieutenant Rhea said, her voice hushed with awe. "This is a facility, a vault." Lyra nodded, her mind racing. The implications were staggering. This wasn't just a human settlement that had escaped Earth's collapse. This place had been built with purpose, a hub for something far greater. Lyra turned to the display console in the center of the chamber and activated it. The screen flickered to life, showing a map of distant star systems. But there was more. A list of names, individuals, families, all cross-referenced with ships and travel routes. Some of them were familiar from the previous coordinates they had visited, but others were entirely new. "Is this a registry?" Lyra whispered, her voice barely audible. Rhea nodded grimly. "It looks like it. These are the survivors, the ones who fled Earth long ago. They were cataloged, and their whereabouts tracked. This place, it was a hub for the last remnants of humanity." As Lyra's eyes scanned the map, she saw several locations labeled with a warning. Asterisk containment zones asterisk. Her heart skipped a beat. These weren't just safe havens. These were places of isolation, places where humanity had sealed itself off, perhaps from threats within or from the galaxy beyond. She felt a wave of unease settle over her. "It's as if they were preparing for something," Lyra said, her mind piecing together the chilling possibility. Preparing for something they couldn't escape. The team moved deeper into the facility, uncovering more data logs and encrypted files. It became increasingly clear that this hidden colony was not the peaceful refuge it had first seemed to be. There was a history of conflicts, power struggles, and factions. Humanity's last survivors had not all chosen the same path. Some sought isolation, others sought to return to their roots, and some may have even been hiding from forces much more dangerous than they had ever imagined. As Lyra continued to explore the vault, one fact was becoming undeniable. The legacy of humanity's survival was more complex, more fractured than anyone had ever known. And whoever had created this hidden colony, whoever had scattered the survivors across the stars, had done so with a purpose: to protect them from something far worse than the fall of Earth. Lyra stood in the heart of the facility, overwhelmed by the weight of the discovery. She had come seeking answers about humanity's survival, but what she had found was a new mystery, one that would take them deeper into the unknown. The path ahead would not be easy, and it was clear now that the true legacy of humanity, its hidden history, was something far darker and more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. As Lyra and her team explored the underground vault, they felt as though they were uncovering the very bones of humanity's last stand. The hidden colony on the barren moon had revealed much, but it was far from everything. The data logs they uncovered spoke of a deep, unspoken history, one that was fragmented, buried beneath layers of deception and secrecy. The more they uncovered, the clearer it became that humanity's survival was not just about escape or refuge. There was something more, something dark. After hours of sifting through the encrypted files and deciphering the ancient tech, Lyra stumbled upon a series of cryptic messages, their origins unclear but unmistakably urgent. The first one she found was a recorded transmission, its flickering hologram showing the stern-faced man, his features worn and tired, though his eyes burned with determination. Asterisk. This is Commander Elias Vance, second in command of the Earth Colonization Initiative. Asterisk. His voice echoed in the dimly lit vault, strained yet resolute. Asterisk. If you're hearing this, then you found one of the last remaining sanctuaries. But be warned, humanity's survival was never meant to be simple. We are guardians of a secret too dangerous to be shared lightly. Asterisk. The image flickered for a moment, then continued. Asterisk. The true enemy we faced wasn't just the cataclysm. It was something far older, something we underestimated. We had to divide humanity, scatter them across the stars. And now, the time has come to decide whether our species survives or vanishes completely. The guardians of the legacy are our last line of defense. Protect the survivors at all costs. Asterisk. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving a suffocating silence in the room. Lyra's heart raced as she absorbed the message. Guardians of the legacy. What had Vance meant? And who exactly were they protecting humanity from? The Guardians, Lyra muttered to herself, turning back to her team. Who are they, and what are they guarding us from? Lieutenant Rhea stepped forward, her brow furrowed in thought. If this place was a sanctuary, it seems like there was more to it. They didn't just hide humanity, they hid something else. Something worse. The implications were terrifying. If humanity's survival had depended not just on the escape from Earth, but on the protection of some powerful, dark force, then the galaxy was far more dangerous than Lyra had realized. The team pressed on, moving deeper into the facility, when they found a hidden chamber within the vault. It was sealed off by a massive reinforced door, which had clearly not been opened in centuries. The markings on the door were ancient, resembling a warning or a lock. Lyra ordered her team to breach the door, and as they did, a gust of stale air swept over them, as though the room itself had been waiting for them to open it. Inside the chamber were rows of stasis pods, each one containing what appeared to be human forms, sleeping or suspended in time. The pods were surrounded by complex machinery, each system connected to monitors displaying data in a language that Lyra couldn't immediately understand. This was no ordinary sanctuary. It was a holding facility. The pods were not just for survival. They were for something else, something that could not be allowed to escape. This is... Lyra's voice faltered as she moved toward one of the stasis pods. This is a vault of something more than just survivors. Her eyes scanned the pod's screen. It displayed a series of codes that Lyra quickly began to decipher. The message was chilling. Asterisk containment status. Active. Subject identified as one of the original Guardians. Protocol. Remain in stasis until further instructions. Classified threat level. Extinction asterisk. She felt the blood drain from her face. The stasis pods didn't hold ordinary survivors. They held the very beings humanity had been protecting themselves from. The Guardians were not just a group of protectors. They were the last line of defense against the creatures, forces, or entities that had threatened Earth in its final days. Commander, look at this. Lieutenant Rhea's voice broke through Lyra's thoughts. She stood by another pod, her expression grave. This one, it's still active. The pod hummed faintly, as if something inside was stirring. Lyra rushed over to the display and saw that the pod's occupant was not only alive but awake. They're not asleep, Lyra whispered in disbelief. They're waiting. The realization hit like a wave. Humanity had locked away its protectors, the Guardians, to keep something powerful and dangerous contained. But now, that containment was faltering. Whatever the Guardians had been holding back was about to be unleashed, whether they were ready or not. Lyra's mind raced with possibilities. Was this why the survivors had remained hidden for so long? Were the Guardians the key to stopping whatever had caused humanity's near extinction? And if they were awakened, would they be able to protect the galaxy? Or would they be consumed by the very darkness they had once fought? As the crew continued to examine the stasis pods, Lyra's gaze lingered on the active pod, the occupant within just beginning to stir. The fate of humanity was no longer a question of survival. It was a question of whether the past would rise again to defend them, or whether it would finally break free and destroy everything they had worked to protect. The faint hum of the stasis pod filled the chamber, its display flickering erratically as the occupant inside began to stir. Lyra stood frozen, her heart pounding in her chest. The realization of what they had uncovered weighed heavily on her mind. The Guardians, once humanity's last defense against an unknown threat, were waking up. The ancient protectors who had been kept in suspended animation for centuries were now re-entering a world they had long been cut off from. But the question that lingered was a terrifying one. Would they be allies or adversaries? Is it happening? Lieutenant Ria's voice broke the silence, filled with anxiety and awe. She stood beside Lyra, eyes glued to the active pod, watching the slow yet deliberate movement within. Lyra didn't answer immediately, her eyes fixed on the screen of the pod. A human form, sleek, armored, and eerily still, lay suspended in a gel-like fluid. The pod's external systems whirred, adjusting the temperature and releasing small puffs of steam as the figure's eyes suddenly opened. For a long moment, nothing moved except for the flickering of lights around the pod. Then the occupant's gaze slowly shifted to the chamber beyond, and their face, though covered in a helmet, seemed to focus directly on Lyra. A low mechanical voice broke the tension. Asterisk designation. Guardian Unit Alpha. Status. Activated. Awaiting command asterisk. The voice was cold, clinical, and devoid of emotion. But there was no mistaking the presence of authority in the words. Lyra could feel the air shift as if the very weight of history pressed down on her. These were not ordinary humans. These were warriors, survivors, trained for something far beyond what the galaxy had experienced in its current age. Lyra swallowed hard and stepped forward, careful not to make any sudden moves. Guardian Unit Alpha, she began, her voice steady despite the swirling emotions inside her. We are representatives of the Galactic Empire, searching for the truth about humanity's survival. We found your sanctuary, and we need to understand what happened. Why were you kept in stasis? The Guardian remained motionless for a moment, as though processing the request. Then, the figure tilted its head slightly, a subtle gesture that Lyra interpreted as a sign of curiosity. Asterisk the Empire. The last remnant of a broken system. Your presence is not. Expected asterisk. The voice had grown more measured, as if weighing the situation with extreme caution. Asterisk the legacy was sealed away for a reason. The threat is not gone. The survivors you seek are scattered, hidden from what awaits them asterisk. Lyra's pulse quickened as the Guardian spoke, its words laced with an eerie forewarning. She motioned to her team to step back slightly, a sense of unease creeping through her. What threat? She asked. The message we found spoke of an extinction-level force, something ancient. Are you referring to that? Asterisk, the darkness, asterisk. The Guardian's response was chilling, its voice unwavering. Asterisk, a force older than the stars. It cannot be stopped by ordinary means. It devours all that stands in its path, and it is coming. The survivors you seek were hidden away to protect them from what you cannot fathom asterisk. Lyra's mind raced as she tried to make sense of the Guardian's cryptic words. You're saying the survivors are not just hiding from the fall of Earth, but from something else. Something more powerful. Asterisk, yes asterisk. The Guardian's voice was final, resolute. Asterisk, the darkness is not a natural disaster. It is a being, an entity that thrives on consuming civilizations. Earth was merely its latest victim. The survivors you are searching for are part of a contingency plan, a last hope for humanity. But they are not safe. Even now, the darkness stirs asterisk. The weight of the Guardian's words hit Lyra like a physical blow. The extinction event they had assumed to be a natural disaster was no accident. It wasn't just the Earth that had fallen. It was humanity itself that had been targeted by this unknown force, something that had been consuming worlds for millennia. The survivors had been scattered, hidden, and protected not just from the cataclysm, but from something far more insidious. Lyra took a step forward, her voice growing more urgent. We need to know more. How can we stop this darkness? How can we save humanity? For the first time, the Guardian's helmeted face seemed to twitch, a barely perceptible shift in its posture. Asterisk, you cannot stop what is inevitable, asterisk. The words hung in the air, heavy with resignation. Asterisk, but there are ways to delay its advance, ways to fortify the survivors, to prepare them for the coming storm. We will assist you, but you must understand. The Empire is not the answer. Only the Guardians can protect what remains of humanity, asterisk. Lyra's heart clenched. The Empire, with all its might and technological prowess, was not the answer. The power to stop the darkness, to protect the scattered survivors, lay with the Guardians, the very beings who had been locked away for centuries. Asterisk, then let us help you, asterisk, Lyra said, her voice firm. Asterisk, who can't do this alone. But we can do it together, asterisk. The Guardian was silent for a moment, before responding with a final, chilling line. Asterisk, if you are truly ready, then prepare. The darkness is not far behind, asterisk. The chamber's atmosphere seemed to darken as the Guardian's words echoed in Lyra's mind. The awakening of the Guardians had only begun a countdown to a threat that was already on the move, and a future that would be shaped by choices none of them could yet fully comprehend. The true battle for humanity's survival had just begun. The atmosphere within the vault grew heavier as the Guardian's warning settled in. The air, thick with the weight of impending doom, seemed to pulse with an unsettling rhythm. Lyra stood motionless, her thoughts racing as the Guardian's last words echoed in her mind. Asterisk, the darkness is not far behind, asterisk. It was a statement of inevitability, and it terrified her. The survival of humanity now hinged on forces far beyond their comprehension, and the Empire, with all its vast might not be enough to protect them. Lyra exchanged a glance with her team. They were all feeling the gravity of the situation, but their resolve was firm. They had come this far, and they couldn't turn back now. There was too much at stake, not just for the Empire, but for the future of humanity itself. They had uncovered the scattered survivors, the hidden colonies, and the ancient protectors, the Guardians. Now they needed to understand the true nature of the threat and find a way to stop it before it was too late. Guardian Unit Alpha, Lyra began, her voice steady but filled with urgency. You spoke of the darkness, but you also mentioned ways to delay its advance. What exactly do we need to do? What are these fortifications, these preparations? The Guardian's armored form seemed to shift slightly, as if considering her question. After a long pause, the voice answered. Asterisk, the darkness is not a simple enemy. It is a force of nature, one that devours worlds, civilizations, and life itself. To protect the survivors, we must first prevent its detection. The darkness has a way of sensing life, of finding the weakest link in a network. Your technology, your weapons, are not enough to stop it, asterisk. Lyra's heart sank. She had feared as much. The power of the darkness was beyond anything they had ever encountered. It was not just a threat. They were up against an unstoppable force that could tear apart everything they had fought to preserve. But there was still hope. Asterisk, the Guardians have knowledge, asterisk. The Guardian continued. Asterisk, we were designed not only to protect, but to guide humanity through the coming storm. We can assist in constructing safe havens, fortifications that will mask the survivors from the darkness. But these will not be built by your technology alone. You must learn to harness the ancient ways we once used to fight, asterisk. Asterisk. Lyra's mind raced. This wasn't just about finding the survivors and protecting them. It was about rebuilding a system, a network of resistance that could stand against an enemy that could devour them all. The path ahead was fraught with peril, but it was the only path left. She turned to her crew, who stood in silent agreement. The plan was clear now. The Empire would not lead this battle. They were too entrenched in their own ways of thinking, too dependent on technology to combat a threat that couldn't be fought with ships or weapons alone. "We'll unite the survivors," Lyra said, her voice resolute. "We'll find every hidden colony, every group that's kept itself isolated. We'll build this resistance together. And we'll learn the ancient ways." The Guardian's voice came again, softer this time. "You have little time. The darkness is close. It has already begun to stir within your galaxy. The longer you wait, the harder it will be to protect the survivors. You must act now, *. Lyra nodded, her mind focused. She understood the urgency. The galaxy wasn't just at war. It was on the brink of an extinction-level event. But this wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about resistance, defiance against the inevitable. She turned to her team. "Prepare the Elysian Star *. We're going to rally every hidden survivor we can find. We'll unite them, train them, and prepare them for what's coming. The Empire may have failed us, but humanity's legacy isn't over. Not yet." The crew moved quickly, their determination now matching Lyra's. Each of them knew the stakes, and each of them was ready to fight for something larger than themselves. This wasn't just about finding the truth of humanity's survival. It was about ensuring that humanity had a future. As the Elysian Star * powered up and took off from the vault, Lyra gazed out at the vastness of space, the stars twinkling like distant beacons of hope. The journey ahead would be perilous. They would face enemies both known and unknown, forces older than the galaxy itself. But one thing was certain: humanity's story was far from over. They had one final stand to make. And this time, they would fight not just for survival, but for victory.